Welcome to the Saints, the City and Me, a podcast that delivers audio love letters to the city of New Orleans and the New Orleans Saints. As always, I'm joined by my better half, Dan, and tonight we are joined by Ulrik, who is a Saints fan who lives in Europe, in Denmark. Ulrik, how are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you, and thanks for having me.
It's been a long time coming. I know we sort of contacted each other quite a while ago, but it's been quite a hectic couple of months, I think, for both myself and Dan. But it's great to get you on. We're sort of going back to what this pod was sort of originally set up to be, which was having chats with international fans. So we're really, really pleased to get you on.
You have some quite exciting guests on the podcast. So
yeah, we've been very fortunate. That's all down. That's all down to Mr. Dan's perseverance. He's very good at that. All of them.
Yeah. I will explore any avenue I can to get yes I want on. Just this week I took out a subscription to LinkedIn Premium, a trial, because I saw some people who work for the Saints had profiles. So I've sent them messages. They've ignored me, but I'll keep going. I'll persevere. It's for the fans. We deserve to.
It's the only way.
Away.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's the only way to keep pushing.
Ulrik, when you first meet Dan in person, he's a very, very good laugh. He's one of my best friends, but he can be quite reserved and not that sort of fond of pushing himself forward. But Jesus Christ, online, my man's a beast. An absolute beast.
So I said, give the fans what they want. We want to me, and I've talked about this before, we've got a unique perspective as European fans, as international fans, and we probably ask different questions of these people who are more closely connected to the teams. I think, try and get money. We maybe get the questions that people like Ulrik and Ilio and John in France and people in the UK and Scotland want to hear. So I do it for the pod. Push me somewhere. Anyway, that's enough about me.
You're selfless, Dan. Selfless, my friend.
I'm pretty boring. But to Mike's point, we contacted Ulrik like in September, October about coming on, and then I think I went on holiday. Mike went on holiday. Then we went to New Orleans, and then we were fortunate enough to get a couple of people we wasn't expecting to say they'd come on the pod. So we do apologise for leaving you hanging, but I'm glad we've managed to get today in the diary.
I'm glad to be here. So thank you.
It's good. I think we ought to obviously start with the Saints. So we got a victory at the weekend. Woo!
Finally.
What were your thoughts on the game, and what are your thoughts on the Saints at the moment?
At the moment, I'm optimistic. We are in a combined first place, so to speak. So we have all our opportunities ahead of us. I think we have it in our own hands. So if we can make something of it and get some wins together, especially the end of the season, right, with the last two games at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. If we can win those, anything can happen. So I'm optimistic, but on the other hand, everything is kind of off, I think, with the Saints at the moment. Every time we find something that works on offense, we say, let's do something else. We try this one. So I can't really understand it, but I'm hopeful that we get things rolling.
I think when you say that, you're probably talking about Jimmy Graham. I mean, God Almighty,
Jimmy Graham and Alvin Kamara and the I just don't understand that.
I feel like, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit, I feel like they are maybe overthinking things too much and trying to be too cute the way they do things. So whether they're thinking, they won't expect us to do this, and it actually just doesn't work. Just not giving the ball to Taysom Hill when he's been incredibly productive. It feels like they're overthinking what they're doing, and actually, it's they should just do the natural thing. I've got a theory on Jimmy Graham, and it may again. I think I'm giving him too much credit, but I just wonder whether they thought they were being so smart, saying let's hold him back, and then we'll just keep him healthy and unleash him at the end of the season. There's like this weapon in the red zone. Everyone will be like, "Oh my god, what do? We haven't planned for Jimmy Graham, and look how good he is." And actually, it's backfired because they could have really 4 receptions, 3 touchdowns.
It's quite amazing stats, but I think they have to use him sporadically here and there, especially in the red zone. So, but why wait till now? I just don't know that.
I mean, it's obviously we know. Obviously, Jimmy had his little personal issue, didn't he, when he was in LA? We don't know what went on there. Again, we don't know if there's some rumblings in the building that are sort of a little bit more personal than professional. Who knows? Because there are a couple of incidences this year with the Saints where you could probably touch on that, but look, we've had no problem getting to the red zone, and obviously when you've seen him in the red zone, it's like, why the hell are we not using him? It defies logic. And
we have so many weapons for the red zone that we could use. That we don't.
And it looks so easy when they're doing it. So
absolutely.
And he made that incredible grab for the first down. So that looks like vintage Graham, I think.
Absolutely.
And do you know what? Derek Carr has been throwing the ball up quite high, too high for like Olave and some of that, and Shaheed never had to really throw their bodies around to try and get to the ball. Whereas Jimmy Graham, if that is what Derek Carr is naturally inclined to do, then Jimmy Graham is a perfect foil for him in the red zone. It's a shame that Juwan Johnson hasn't performed to the way we thought he would, having a big frame body there. But we've seen it with Derek Carr before. He likes big body players like Darren Waller and guys like that. But he just doesn't seem to. He just hasn't really clicked through. I'm being polite. It just hasn't really clicked for Derek Carr this year.
Mr. Carr.
If this was if this conversation was happening with 2 more pale ales, it wouldn't be so polite. I don't think. I think it. No. I mean, again, but, sorry, Ulrik.
But I can't understand why he's confrontational with the other players. I can't understand that. He's a new quarterback in our system. So why just take the hits and keep it?
I think one of the things about that is, and everybody was sort of the same. We've spoken on this before. I think a majority of Saints fans were sold when Carr came in. Obviously, there were some that had their some. Me, I think I was. I think Dan was. I think a majority of the people we knew were. And in preseason, everything seemed very good. He seemed like an intelligent man when he was in the press conferences, talking about all the stuff that you want him to talk about. And I think that got everyone's hopes up. There is his recent behavior in the press conferences, I think, for a professional athlete, is disgraceful.
It's quite erratic.
And and that's my, it's answering questions without an actual answer, and sort of, not giving detail and just not being honest and accountable. And that, I think that's unforgivable. And maybe I'm got my rose tinted glasses on, because obviously we knew when Drew came into a presser, he would be honest, he would take accountability. And so maybe I'm viewing it with those glasses on, but you just see it in other players when they're in a presser. There seems to be a sense of honesty and accountability. And just recently, there doesn't seem to be any of that with him. Now, I don't know if it's because of the amount of pressure that he's under, or he feels he's being put under by the fan base. But I really don't appreciate it.
No, it's a bad look for him. And just being honest and said, I messed up or something else. Take the heat for the bad performances and just get on. I think.
When you're having a bust up with your O-line, that's not a good thing.
So it's been there's been, I think, from a media point of view, there's two benchmark events that occurred that just haven't helped him. So one, when Nick Underhill asked him that question, he said, "You can keep on asking me. I'm just going to give you words, and I'm not going to answer your question." So you've alienated there one of the most influential writers in New Orleans from a fan base point of view, who's got a very strong staple of writers within his media organization. And then Cat Terrell goes to ask him a question at the weekend, and he mutters under his breath, audibly, so we could hear it, "Oh, here we go again." They're two respected writers, and she's ESPN, so they're not going to be getting rid of Cat, and Nick's too big for him to get rid of. So he needs to be able to, in Oakland, maybe the media were kind to him, but if you're in a city like New Orleans where you've got passionate fans who want to know what's going on, that you're going to struggle. And I think likewise with his brother, when he ended up going to bigger cities with a bigger media base, he struggled again. They're obviously very thin-skinned as a family. You can see that from their online presence.
And don't go at the queen of Saints media, Kat. Just don't do it. Like she's the one who always will ask the barbed question. She'll ask the question that might sort of make people feel uncomfortable. And obviously we, our friends Ryan and Adam had Kat on their pod, and she's just straightforward. She's been in the industry enough time, secure in what she does. She's going to ask those questions, and that doesn't help the car fraternity. It really doesn't, because his brother blocking people left, right, and center when they haven't even interacted with him is just remarkable. It's almost like he searched the word car on Twitter and just blocked anybody who said the word car on Twitter, which is incredible.
I'm sure it's the same in Denmark, Ulrik, as well. We know from soccer that journalists will ask difficult questions, and journalists in Europe can be very, very pointed to soccer players and give them a hard time, in particular managers. I think a lot of the questions these players get are layups, to be honest. They're not that tough.
But I don't get how you can be so thin-skinned when asked tough questions and you are in the position you are in as a quarterback in the NFL. I don't get it. It's a really big red flag right now. I think.
It is, and it's also that sort of thing. If he just put up those normal sort of platitudes, which is I've got to do better, that's on me, people would have a go at him for that. They'd say, "Oh God, he's saying all the normal rubbish." But it would be nowhere near as big as it has become now, where it's like there is a disrespect of the fan base, because obviously we're talking about these pressers because we watch them. It's where we get our Saints news from. And it seems like it's just a complete and utter disrespect of the fan base and the media individuals as well. They've got a job to do, he's causing problems for himself.
Food at home, it's not a good sign.
No.
So I heard there were chants for Winston, right?
We want Jameis.
And then to bring Jameis on to kneel the game out. That just again, that feels like a bit of a slap in the face.
Yeah. If you was to draw an analogy, linking it back over to our football in Europe, and you think of the way David Beckham was treated after the 1998 World Cup, and there's a documentary on Netflix about it, and I know that people around the world have seen it, and he didn't react, he didn't retaliate, he did all his interviews professionally. He had effigies of him hanging outside pubs, he had people saying awful things about his family life. All they've done to Derek Carr is boo him and say be better, and he's behaving like a petulant child.
Because we're losing. We're losing.
They're not the same things. I'm comparing apples and pears, but it still shows you the difference in a professional athlete who knows that they have to deal with what comes with the job, and someone who thinks that they are above criticism. Which I think, if we were to, if Derek Carr seems to think he's above criticism at the moment.
You haven't quite earned that right. It was another thing. It was Drew Brees after 10 years or something in New Orleans, you get a little longer line or something. I think.
Yeah.
So,
but also,
like Mario gets a bit slower, and people give him a bit. Okay, it's fine. You know, you're getting a bit older, but he's not. Like, he hasn't had it. Sorry, Mike.
No, I was going to say when you're drawing on the situation with Drew there, Ulrik, you're absolutely right. But the thing about it is that he performed. You know, we all know the nightmare years that we had where defensively we were absolutely awful, but you always felt like you were in a game because of
it was fun games
behind center.
Fun games.
Yeah, it was fun. It was enjoyable, but the man behind center, you knew, gave you a chance to win probably any game. Regardless of what we were doing defensively. Derek hasn't performed. You know, some of his stats may from the outside look okay, but only in the last probably 8 to 9 games. But I don't know. Is he's the 23rd rated QB in the league? I mean, you look at the game at the weekend. I mean, going into the fourth quarter, Jesus Christ, he had 37 yards. 37 yards until 7 minutes into the fourth quarter. One ball doubled his yardage. I mean, what the hell is that about?
And to be fair, A.T. Perry had to put a bit of effort in to get that ball as well. He underthrew it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing,
good special teams play by some wide receiver throwing the ball downfield. One good play. And that's 37 yards. I think.
Maybe there are some positives though from the game.
Can I wait before you go there, Dad? I knew you were going to go there. Yeah, no, you're right. Go on, mate.
Jordan Howden had a great game. Most tackles on the team. He got a sack. I thought he looked great. And my prediction of him being a starter by the end of the season looks like it's going to come in.
Yeah. But then yet again. That was in contrast to the week before, where, let's be honest, I know he's your star boy, and
everyone takes their lumps once a season.
Yeah, but he was not great the week before, but he looked very impressive against an absolutely ordinary offense. But that's not taking anything away from him because he did his job.
Yeah, that's what you got.
And that's all you can ask. Yeah. Hey, look. We've got the weekend coming up, Ulrik. What are your thoughts on the game at the weekend against the Giants with their man DeVito, who's getting a lot of media attention over?
Yeah,
he won the player, didn't him and
player of the week.
Him and Wilson won the players of the week in the respective leagues. Who would have thought that? That's a bet you should. Oh, by the way, sorry, Ulrik. Before we go there, Dan, do you just want to tell everybody out there about your Jimmy Graham bet?
Well, not really, because I didn't tell my wife about it, and she might listen. But I'm gonna have to.
Oh crap! You did. Oh yeah, you were saying you didn't want to know.
I paid for a Christmas present with it, so I put a £12.50 bet on Jimmy Graham. 3 bets: first touchdown, anytime touchdown, and last touchdown in the game. So I got. Last touchdown and anytime touchdown came in, so for £12.50 I won £255. So I was quite pleased with that, and I have paid for my wife's Christmas present with that. So if she does listen, it's gone on you, babe.
So, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Nick. Enjoy it, my love. Let me know what he bought you. Anyway, let's carry on with the game at the weekend. What are your thoughts, Ulrik? What are you thinking?
My thoughts are we're gonna win. I hope. But it's kind of a game where you in the start of the season you think, okay, it's a win. Now it's maybe we win. And looking at the quarterbacks, it's kind of even. I think I don't hope, but I think it's even. He's playing up and Carl's going down. So maybe it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, it's an incredible season, isn't it? For the amount of the amount of QBs that have been injured this year and the backups that have come in.
Yeah.
And for some, I was going to say a majority of them, but a lot of them seem to be doing fairly well as backups.
Yeah.
in this league. And yet again, when you think about us and we got Carr as our starter, and God, and then you look at the other, yet again, I think we cannot be consistent in the way that we think because we are so inconsistent. Whereas, you go into a game at the weekend and it doesn't matter what game, you sort of reflect on the game the previous weekend. You think, oh my God, we looked okay there. Yeah, I reckon we're gonna. And then we just stink the bloody place out. And that's part of the problem that we've got, is that we are just so inconsistent that you can't sort of give any idea of what's going to happen in a game.
But I thought that Carr would have ups and downs and then even out and find it. He hasn't found anything yet. And I don't know if he will. So
no.
What worries me about this weekend's game is Tommy Cutlets or Tommy DeVito. He rushed for 71 yards last weekend. And we do not defend the run particularly well. So him with Barkley. I
think we gave up over 200 rushing yards against the Panthers, didn't we? Which, not in a horrible way. They were always going to rush quite a lot because obviously their QB at the moment is not being protected. He's not looking good. Not saying that he's not a good QB, but he's not looking good because of what's around him. So they were always going to rush. But yet again, for a team to go over 200 yards against us, and you're right, Tommy Cutlets, I saw the highlights of the game where he ran in for the touchdown. He glided in for the touchdown. He looked quite a smooth runner, which yet again would frighten the crap out of me against our defense. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Just enjoy the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what we said. People just enjoy the game, one game at a time. Enjoy the wins.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to the end of the season going, I hope we don't make the playoffs. I just want to enjoy each game as it comes.
Yeah.
We land
and we do. And it will be more enjoyable for us this weekend because you've got a few people coming over, haven't you, Dan, for a Sunday get together at the bar to watch our beloved Saints. So in that sort of atmosphere, you definitely want to win because there's nothing more joyous.
Put the camera in the corner, just live stream our activities on YouTube.
No, I don't think you want to do that. We're going to be out. We're also going to be out quite late on the Saturday night, so I don't think you want to stream that Sunday activity.
Probably not.
No, so. But it is that thing. We're going to be with a group of Saints friends. We're going to be all enjoying each other's company, and especially when you're in that type of environment, you just want your team to do well. You want them to excite you, put a smile on your face, and so let's hope for the win.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah,
we had
absolutely.
We had a get together as well in a couple of years ago, and we met the Panthers, and we got our ass. Yeah. So it was. We're gonna meet up and see each other, but the game was just. So I hope that doesn't happen here.
No, the first time.
The first ago.
Yeah.
Dan, do you remember the first time I ever came to your bar and watched a game? And what was the monumental moment in that game? That
the thing that excited Mike the most was that Kevin White caught a pass. And he celebrated it like it was a touchdown. Because he was
I celebrated it like it. I celebrated like we won the Super Bowl. I was very excited. I was so.
That's the Bucks game when Jameis went down, right?
Yeah. But anyway, glory days. Those were glory days.
Glory days.
Anyway, all right. I think we've probably talked enough about the Saints. I think we need to now get to know you a little bit better, Ulrik. I think
sure.
The question that we always ask international fans when they come on was it the Saints or the City for you?
It was definitely the Saints before the City for me. So I got into watching or following, I say, American football in the late 80s. as a young kid at 11, watching the highlight. They brought on Danish TV. They brought like a half an hour from a game with the highlights afterwards. And I think it was the Broncos at the Giants a game. I watched first, and then the highlights. I think the Saints beat the Buffalo Bills in a snowy game, and so on. I got into that and just followed, and then I liked the black jerseys in soccer. It was also always the referee that wore the black shirt. So I thought that was interesting, and the Saints played inside, and they got Dane playing for them as well, and there was a lot of things that pointed in that direction. And my dad played jazz, and
nice.
sent a postcard from the Superdome with Tulane in the one end and the Saints graphics in the other. So there was a lot of things pointing in that direction. And
okay,
I guess that was the way in for me. Yeah.
So sorry, go Mike.
No, crack on.
I was going to say, was one of the questions obviously that jumps to mind, was Morten Andersen a dominant figure in that decision for you to become a Saints fan, or to almost like lock it in for you, being a compatriot, is that a similar thing for other Danish Saints fans?
It was not a lock. I like the running back position. So Dalton Hilliard was a great player at the time and scored, I think, the most touchdowns in the '89 season or something. So that was one, and Morten Andersen was like, okay, they got a Dane, and there was some articles in newspapers that I got out, and but not the main thing.
No,
just a big thing.
Yeah, on that, Ulrik, where obviously because obviously he's a legend for the Saints. You know, he's always in. You know, I think we were listening to the 28-3 podcast a few weeks now, doing their top 10 Saints players of all times, and obviously Morten's always in the top 10 of any Saints fans. Obviously, that wasn't an overriding reason for you to become a Saints fan.
No.
Obviously, as you're saying, it was like, oh, that's nice. He's a Dane. That gives me something else to sort of thing. Prior to you sort of, when you were saying that you were watching it in the 80s, before you sort of became a real fan and probably decided that you had to pick a team, were the Danish public aware of what Morten was doing? Was it something that because it was unusual, was it something that was ever, prior to you becoming a real fan, that you were aware of sort of outside your own fandom?
Yeah. Morten commentated the Super Bowls, which were the only games aired live. So it was the only time when you can actually see a game and watch it live. That was the Super Bowl, and that Morten always, unfortunately, were commentating. And
very smooth, Ulrik, very smooth.
So and of course in '98, I think the Super Bowl where the Falcons played the Broncos, he was playing, so that got a lot of Danish TV time. So, and then after that, one of the channels, new channels, started showing live games every Sunday at that will be 21 your time. The mid level game.
The pain of a European fan, it starts at 9 o'clock. That's painful. Just a question on that, because I don't think it's not so, obviously we're not aware, because in the UK we either watch our own sort of broadcast, which is the Sky channels in the UK, or we've all got what used to be Game Pass, which is now DAZN. What's the the availability of the NFL in Denmark now? Is it like we have it on Sky? Is there sort of dedicated sort of?
Yeah, they show 2 games you can stream on the TV2 channel. It's called. Yeah. And then there are one that's aired live on I think cable TV.
Yeah.
So one game, and the late game, the primetime game is also aired, and the Thursday night is aired.
Okay.
So you got like 4 or 5 games available.
Okay. All right.
Around that range. I only watch the zone so now because I need to see the Saints. So
yeah. Unfortunately, we're all shoved into that category, aren't we? Where it's like, right, we need to spend some more money. Do
you know what? It's interesting because sometimes I listen to our friends who are American who had access to games for a long time, and they can recall all these plays that happened. And my memory is really sketchy of anything sort of pre 2007, because that was when we got Game Pass. So we would have to rely on what was on Red Zone if we got that. And so you'd only see the big splash plays and things like that. So it's really, I don't say it frustrates me, but it is a little bit. I wish I could remember further back some of these plays. But now to your point, Ulrik, now we've got the Zone and Game Pass. We can watch every single game and from start to finish and see everything that takes place, which is fantastic for us as international fans.
Well, the TV2 channel that I mentioned aired games at 22. The I don't know, afternoon games, I think they call it. And sometimes I wrote TV2. You got to put the things on, and they never did. I at one point I made stats, but by how many which teams were playing. And I think the Saints were shown once or twice, and in the bottom of with Arizona and Houston Texans and Cincinnati, I think.
Without being a cliche, are the Vikings the most aired team in Denmark and Scandinavia from an NFL point of view, or is that just
no?
I
think it's like the Patriots and
what's similar to what we have here. We don't get the Jags a lot on Sky, even though they are the UK team. So they do focusing on those traditional big hitters, should we say?
We only got, I think this year so far on our cable TV, which is Sky. I think there's only been one live Saints game, which was the
Monday night game.
Jags, weren't it? No, the Thursday night game. We had the Monday night game. Yeah. Sorry,
game and the Jags game, and then obviously the Rams will be on, which I will start.
Yeah. So obviously in Denmark, you're saying it's the Patriots, it's normal sort of thing. Yeah. What's your feeling about the biggest fan bases over there? Does it follow the trends that we see over here, that suddenly, like, a lot of fans over here are were brought into the NFL in the 80s. So you get the Dolphins, you get all those major teams from the 80s. A lot of people still support them, but obviously, younger fans now will step into the game. Obviously, during the 90s and the 2000s and whatnot, you had the Patriots. Now they're Chiefs. You see young people, they want to be fans of the Chiefs. And what would you say are the bigger fan bases in Denmark, Ulrik?
Yeah, I think it's the Packers, actually.
Okay.
And the Patriots, as I mentioned, also the Vikings are big. Our commentators, one of the big commentators on Danish TV is a huge Vikings fan. So there was, I think, somebody's following him on that path.
Yeah.
But also, I think the Danes, Vikings, could follow that. So
it's interesting because that's natural. Sorry, go on, Ulrik.
No, just the Packers is my best guess at that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Packers are quite well followed across Europe, to be fair. I know when they came to London, there was a lot of fans from Germany who came over who were big Packers fans and things like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because obviously I said it's a bit of a cliche, but it's an obvious connection, the Vikings with Denmark and Scandinavian countries. But the funny thing is when you speak to a Brit who goes, "Oh, I'm a New England Patriots fan," because it says England. It's like you don't really get the idea that they were the rebels who didn't like England, but maybe that's just British people not getting the irony of
the historical education required. Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw. I know you were. I know you were there, Ulrik, for the last year for the Saints when the Vikings came over. But the one thing that we did see is that we were there obviously from Thursday through to the Sunday, and on the Thursday and Friday, a majority of people that you saw that were in sort of NFL tops who were obviously there were all Saints fans. Come Saturday, literally the Viking fans were outnumbering Saints fans like 4-1. And again, speaking to a couple of people, it was because a lot of people from Scandinavia at that point had come over. So we just assume that there's a big fan base over there, but poor old Saints with their little fan bases.
I walked down the street. There was a pub or something nearby, and it's like a street from the main street, and it was all purple. I had to walk down there and get a picture taken.
So it's probably in Tottenham or in actual central London.
No, Tottenham.
Okay.
Out by the stadium, there was a side street from the main.
I know. The corner pin, the old corner pin pub, which is Beavertown now.
Ulrik, here's a hint: don't walk down any side roads in Tottenham, mate.
Come on,
stay on the main drags. Yeah, it's dangerous around there. Isn't that right, Dan?
Yeah, really bad. And let's get back on topic. I noticed from your Instagram that you had a pretty cool meeting at the game as well. Who was that you met with?
I was standing, and I think, isn't it? Oh no, and I saw a Tank, Jordan's son, and then I was sure. So my friend is a Vikings fan, and I told him that's Steve Jordan, and he's a great Vikings player, and it's Cameron's dad. Okay, and we was just standing there, and finally some other people walked over, and can we have a picture? And then we can do it as well. So we went over, and it was quite nice. And his wife.
It's a really cool picture, especially as you say, because it's not only Steve and it's Tank in there as well. That's really cool.
That was important for me to get Tank also in that picture.
Exactly. That's cool. That's cool.
I was lucky enough to meet Morten Andersen when I was in New Orleans the first time, and that was you. Similar to what you said there, you see them, you go, is that him?
Isn't that?
And he had his gold Hall of Fame jacket on. I was like, it's definitely Morten Andersen. So I was like, run over. I'm from Europe. Can I have my photo taken with you?
Yeah.
It's weird when you see a player when they're older because is that them? Is that not them? You have that doubt because you're so used to just seeing this like square of a person. You're never quite sure who if they are who you think they are.
Yeah, we were at the Thanksgiving game, the Falcons Saints, the Seattle Stefan at my Ryan game, and after that we went to the Houston at Patriots, and in the airport in Houston, I also saw one, isn't it? And then I told my friend that's Michael Lewis. And I apparently said it that loud that he turned and I said, hi. And then he was gone. So
yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So obviously, do you come over to London for other games, or is it just the Saints, or do you try and get over for as many as you can?
it's just the Saints. I
Yeah.
think we have a group that's a lot of different fans of different teams, and then they're traveling if their team is coming. So yeah. So for me, it's just the Saints for now. I think.
Yeah. What's the growth of the game in Denmark, Ulrik? How have you seen? Have you seen it grow over the last sort of 10 years? Because I think maybe the last 10 years is where it's sort of really grown in the UK as well. Have you seen that in Denmark?
Yeah. When I started following the game, I would also like to have played, but I was like 12, and the youngest that were playing was like 18, and that's a big difference in body. So when I tried, but my friend who was also 12 got in the game, and he got knocked around, and I said, "Oh, I'll play soccer." Yes. So, but at that time, that was I think the local team where I grew up got beat by one of the biggest teams, like 110-0 in the first game. So from that point and till now, there's been a growth, a big growth in the game, and I watched the final in Denmark here as well. So it's growing, but it's not like
not like soccer, not like no. But also have you seen the yet again you sort of see it. Have you noticed more fans of the NFL in general in that sort of period of time? Have you have you noticed that there's been a growth in sort of fanship as well?
Yeah, I see when you just walk around Copenhagen or something, you see different merchandise of fans going around. Oh, there's a Patriots fan. Oh, there's a Dolphin fan. Oh, and occasionally I see a Saints hat or beanie or something. So
yeah.
So it's growing more and more. The fans showing what they which team they like.
Yeah. Also, I suppose it's because it's a big day today, isn't it? I don't know if it's actually been announced or whether it's gone through. The owners were voting, weren't they, on the 8 games a year outside the States? Do you know, Dan, if that's happened yet, or
I don't think the vote's happened yet. I know there was some other stuff they've been voting through. I don't have to vote on the actual games has gone through. I can check. I've got my iPad here.
Yeah, you get
award the Sao Paulo a game.
Yeah, well, that's because they were saying there's got to be a minimum of 8 games a year. So obviously the growth areas, we assume obviously Sao Paulo, because I think from my understanding, I think that's the third biggest country in the world that follows the NFL. So it's a huge fan base in Brazil. So that wouldn't be a surprise. I'm assuming that must be America, Mexico, Brazil, and then obviously Europe probably trails
so
that.
So they'll have one in Mexico, they'll have 2 in Germany, they'll have 2 in London. That's 5. They can have 1 in Brazil, 6. 1 in Spain is 7. So there's that gap. Where will be the 8th place?
On, France. Let's get France in there.
Of France, of course.
Yeah, no, it will, because the Jags home game that takes place at Wembley isn't included in that, is it? That's outside of the minimum 8. It's outside.
There might be another two countries then. We have to
But you said there that we have the 2 games in London, which are both at the Tottenham Stadium. So if that's fixed, that's it. The Jags will always play a game at Wembley every year, and that's outside of the international program, from what I understand. So maybe we're just waiting for one more to be announced. Who knows?
Yeah, because they said they're doubling the international game inventory from 4 to 8. So 4 would be 2. But maybe that doesn't include Mexico, because there's 5.
Yeah,
including Mexico.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Anyway, we
if
shall
it comes
see.
up while we're talking, I will let you know.
Oh, look at Dan. Will be like breaking news. It'll be like watching
Breaking
Sky
news.
News. Dan,
Yeah.
have you got? Can you have a little banner at the bottom of your,
2027 Super Bowl is going to be in SoFi again, so they've voted on that.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Well, they're voting on that,
yeah. Who cares? It's like, who cares about that? All right. So we touched on obviously your sort of fandom in Europe and how it's sort of grown in Denmark. You've obviously been to the city, Ulrik. How many times have you been to the city?
I think it's 5 times.
Oh wow!
5 times if I count correctly.
You've seen games at all 5? All 5 times you saw a game?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I knew you've been. I knew you've been a few times, but I hadn't stalked you that much on Instagram to find out it was 5 times.
Well, I was there for the first time in 2002, and
wow.
Yeah, quite exciting for seeing a Saints game and going to the stadium and just watching the Superdome for the first time, and oh my god, it's here and it's big and oh my god. And when we got to the stadium, and in 2000 it was a season finale. They just had to win this game. They had one game to win in, I think it was the last 4 or 3 games, just one, and they lost, and we got over there and they lost another, and then it's our game versus the Panthers, and they lost that as well. So I actually got quite sick, physical sick after the game, because I just couldn't handle that.
So you physically got sick because of the loss?
I got fever, and I had to lay in bed half a day or something like that because they lost.
Ulrik, you're from Europe, so I'm going to ask you the real question. Were you really sick because of the game, or were you really sick because you'd been out the night before and you'd had a bit too much to drink?
No, not that. I had soda all game because I needed to be alert and get everything in the game just by being in the Superdome. So no beer and no anything.
No partying.
No.
What was your
awful,
apart from obviously the game experience where you lost, what was it like for you as a fan, sort of going into the Dome for the first time? What was that? Was it an overwhelming experience, or?
Yeah, we got there late because of the time difference.
Because you've been out the night before, or come on, you need to admit it, mate.
No,
Dan, would you not agree that everything is pointing towards Ulrik having a really heavy night the night before?
No, I don't know. It
was
genuine.
Yeah. But and then we couldn't get into the stadium. My mom, who was with me, and my dad, we brought some bags, and there was this clear bag policy that we didn't know about. So we had a lot of discussion by getting in, and then we could take the clear bag and put the other bag in, and then we could go in. So we got in, and they announced the players, and I was just running. I got to see this now, so I was just running through the Superdome, getting into the seat and just enjoying. From there. It was kind of hectic.
So I've got the game up. That was a 10-6 loss. Is that right?
Yeah. So the Saints did. The second thing I wanted to see was just one touchdown, and the eruption and the party. And the music. 2 field goals. That was it. And one touchdown for the Panthers, who played the. I think it was a backup quarterback or something. So it was.
I've got the teams up here. They're not They're not.
We
not,
don't need to.
yeah.
We don't need to go through them, Dan.
I mean, for us, it was Aaron Brooks, Juice McAllister, Dante Stallworth, Joe Horn, Jerry Fontenot, Carl Turney. But yeah,
but
defense wasn't great.
The funny thing about that game and now, well, the Derek Carr gets the Jameis chance. At that game, there were Aaron Brooks, and they had a backup called Jake Delhomme, and the chants were going on. We want Jake, and we want Jake.
Our Saints fans, we've got history.
But at the time, I couldn't. Why are you not supporting the team? Aaron Brooks is the quarterback. Let's support him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't understand that.
You said earlier that you're
senior played next. Sorry,
Sorry. No, go on, Dan. No, you carry it. I was moving it on. You carry on.
No, Steve Smith Senior played in that game.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, that being your first time, and you touched on it a little bit earlier about your dad was very, very into jazz and stuff. So,
yeah,
what was that?
They played Jazz Fest.
What your dad did?
Yeah.
Oh wow! So that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously, your dad had been to the city, obviously, before you went there, and you were saying thing earlier about postcards that he sent home and stuff. So you obviously went to the city with a man who admired the city for other things as well, which was the musical side of the city. So did you see a lot of that? Obviously, because being with your mum and dad, it made sure that you got to see a lot of live music.
Yeah, we went to Preservation Hall, of course, to see that place and all the places that he played. Some of the bars and stuff, and they played in front of the river walk. So we went places. Yeah.
Oh wow!
What instrument did your dad play? What instrument did he play?
He played the drum.
Okay.
It was a band called Carlsberg Brass Band. The beer Carlsberg Brass Band, and they played. They played, I think it was 1990 at the Jazz Fest, and got invited some years back.
To play around the city. That's wonderful. That's brilliant. It's great.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Also great that your first experience of the city was with your mum and dad. I think that's wonderful, actually, given obviously your family's background in music. That's a wonderful story.
Yeah. And then I got my dad interested in football as well. So we see Saints games together once in a while. So
brilliant.
Kind of nice.
God, I struggled to get my sons to follow the Saints, and there would have been no hope when my dad was here of getting him to follow the Saints. Not a hope. This isn't Gaelic football, Nick. This isn't Gaelic football, Michael. All right.
We got the what do you call towels you get sometimes in the dome. We got those, and we swing them around when we get a first down and chest bumps and something.
No, brilliant.
When they score. So he's 77, so it's kind of hard.
Good man.
Good for him.
Enjoy those moments. Enjoy those moments. So when did you next travel to the city, Ulrik? After
I went to the city at I think it was 2015. So there was quite a gap between those two times, and you can see that in going to the game. The game in 2002 were like. There was long pauses where there wasn't music and something.
Yeah,
it was kind of dull. If you know.
It was a different experience
compared to the 2015 game. It was also Atlantic Falcons, a game where the blocked Michael Marty blocked.
Oh wow!
It was that game. And I said to the guy behind me, he's gonna plug this. and then they blocked it, and we just high-fived, and we called it. So, and then when we watched the documentary, what's called, but they have something where the photographer
I've seen it.
took
and it was identical,
yeah.
wasn't it? To Gleason.
So,
It was. So you were at that game.
Nice.
That's great.
It's a rebirth.
So
rebirth documentary.
Yeah. Who did you go over with, Ulrik, at the time?
Oh, that was my wife at the time. So.
Okay. All right. And obviously that's something that you obviously wanted to do, to go back to see the Saints. Did you get to see much of the city? Like, you've been sort of I want to touch on a moment where I know you were at the Dome, and that was you were there when Breeze got the passing yard record, weren't you? I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to swear on the pod directly at you, Ulrik. I'm going to just shift my mouth away and say, "Fuck's sake." That's brilliant. That must have been a magical experience to be there.
It was pure luck. Yeah. Because I'm a teacher, so we have a holiday where you can plan on bigger trips. So me and a friend, we were driving we planned a road trip where we drove from New Orleans. We started in New Orleans because there was a game, and I wanted to see the game of with the Saints, and he wanted to see a Jets game. So our trip was going from New Orleans to Orlando to up to New York, and stopping places. So we started in New Orleans because they played the Redskins, a home game. So it was pure luck that we chose that game. So, but at when we got closer to that game, we were following the numbers, and God, it could happen, but maybe it could happen. So when we got there, we were almost certain that we got it. So it was amazing. And just being in a historic moment in Saints history, it was quite overwhelming, I think.
And it is. You're right. It's like, you but you're there for, obviously every think of a number. Rebirth would have been one. That is obviously one. There are ones, where again, not in a, funnily enough, me and Dan were there for a historic moment, but it's not a good historic moment, because we were there obviously for the no call game. But being at that game and seeing that superhero sort of pass that record, obviously we know it's now disappeared, but it was a phenomenon. Watching it live in the UK, I got very emotional watching it. Anyway, God, being there must have been absolutely incredible. The crowd must have been electric for that game.
You can almost feel it going to the game. Everybody was talking about who is going to throw to, who's going to be that catches that ball. And we were standing.
And we know who it was.
The greatest player ever. So we were standing in line in the what's it called, the Hall of Fame, where they have some player. I think it was Henderson, Henderson. And I was just standing and talking to people in line, and where you're from, and who's gonna be, and I think it's this guy and this guy. But the talk was all about that, not how much if the Saints are gonna win or something like that. That was quite a given.
Well, and also it's like it was an absolute blowout, wasn't it? It was 43, 19, not 19. I think it was something like that.
But it was never like exciting.
No, the game itself wasn't exciting because they were never in it. Absolutely.
No, it was fine for me as a Saints fan, because they were comfortably hit, so you could enjoy it more.
It's good that he did it on a touchdown as well, though. What a way to break the record! Not just a pass from like a 20-yard line to the 35-yard line. It was a pass that actually meant something in the game as well.
Yeah, and the Manning video as well on the video boards was hilarious. Cutting tomatoes and. That record.
Not that we needed to know, but Peyton Manning has got a wonderful sense of humor. And it was great that he did. It was great that he did that for that moment.
The synergy as well, like breaking a son of New Orleans, where they never played for the Saints record. As a Saints player, there's just so many nice little stories that come together succinctly.
The layers, Dan. The layers,
the texture of it,
the texture.
Also, I just wanted to say, like in 2015, Ulrik got another vintage performance at that Falcons game. That was a game that Delvin Breaux locked down Julio Jones, and Julio Jones looked like he was a nobody off the street because Delvin Breaux just locked him up like he wasn't even. He was an Amazon driver. And we're big Delvin Breaux fans on this podcast.
I sat in I think it's 120 something section where the players go out of the Superdome when they head to the locker room, and Delvin Breaux we were like in row I don't know 2019 something, and we could walk down to the ledge or something to see, and then Delvin Breaux was standing right down there. High-fiving some friends of his down. So it was a nice section to be in at that game.
He actually, Delvin Breaux, our last podcast we did with Jeff Reinbold, Delvin Breaux actually reached out to us. He saw the podcast and heard it, and he said, thank you for the kind words that you said, that you and the coach said about it. Yeah, so it was really nice of him to reach out to us. So we appreciate him for that. That was fantastic.
Yeah. But also, Ulrik, you'll have to try, if you've got the ticket stub, try and remember exactly where it was, because I like the sound of those tickets by that tunnel where you can high five and get stuff signed as they're moving out of the off the pitch. I'd love to know where that is, because I think me and Dan thought we could do that when we went to New York, didn't we, mate? Because we were quite close to the Saints sideline. No, we were getting nowhere near it. The nearest we did was bump into.
I tried to get tickets there anytime I go. So I tried to hit that section anytime. I was there when Breeze broke the record and got some videos or something.
Hey, look, Ulrik, if we have a quick look at flights now and they're cheap enough, we can go and get those tickets. It will cost us about $12. So it'll be all good.
Sorry, just going up a slight
on a tangent.
Yeah. I saw today that you can get tickets for the Panthers versus the Falcons for 45 cents.
Really?
In Carolina, it's like we're having like a race to the bottom. Who can get the cheapest?
Yeah, I think $7. I've seen something $7 around that.
$4 was the lowest I saw for the game.
Yeah, I like to when Ulrik said earlier that we're sort of we're joint leaders. I always like to think that we're joint second bottom of that division. That's where I am at the moment.
Half full, Mike, not half empty. Half full.
Oh yeah, sorry. So hey, look, I said earlier I would love for a win at the weekend. So so I'm not half empty. I am half full, as much as it might be painful in the off season.
But that's off season. So
exactly. We're in season now, so let's enjoy the in season. Absolutely. What do you often? You said earlier that when you're at home, you sort of sometimes you have get together with sort of fellow sort of fans in the country. How often do you do that? Is that something that's a regular occurrence, or is it sort of maybe once every couple of years?
Not often enough. Often enough. So I try to get something together for the kickoff game at Titans, but nobody really responded. So it's kind of hard because we have the website and the Twitter and the Facebook, and people are different places. So
yeah,
that's one area I think we have to do better in Denmark to get together and watch games. Yeah.
You mentioned the website there. You've been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
You can tell us a little bit about the website you run?
Oh my God. Yeah. I just started it by making my own website, not called the name is the neorleanssaints.com.dk. But I just updated scores just for fun.
Yeah.
Nobody was watching, so just for fun, I just updated through the scores on the TV, and then I got some feedback from a forum, and then I just thought, let's start this website and see what it can become. So it's like a forum. It's mostly me who writes stuff. We announce a MVP. I got another guy is nominating the MVPs and posting the polls and just getting Saints fans activated in Denmark and letting them have a place to go if they want to talk Saints. So
that's wonderful. That's
and
really great.
In 2005, I think, in the date.
Oh wow! So it's been going for a while.
And then it's almost just a regular thing for me. And we have a competition to pick the score, the winner, the most tackles, the first point score for the Saints, something like that. And then I buy some prize and ship it off.
That's brilliant.
Something. Yeah,
absolutely. But also, yet again, just an example of the dedication of sort of international Saints fans that you've created that website. You know, obviously when you first started it, you were updating the scores, but actually the amount of work that obviously you now have to put in your own time just to keep it sort of up to date and going. It's absolutely, again, it's. Sometimes I think people forget about just the dedication of fans in internationally, Europe, wherever. How dedicated they are.
Yeah, and you're making it accessible for Danes as well. You're writing it in Danish, so they haven't got to, go through a Google Translate and or things like that. They can just put it up and read it, and it's someone they're familiar with. Writing stories and writing articles about it. I think that's wonderful. I think we take it for granted, obviously being English speakers, and everything that comes out of the US is English, that we don't have to think about that. Whereas like yourself, our friends in Spain, our friends in France, you have to put that extra effort in to understand and read and see what's going on. Whereas you're doing a service and say, I can give you something there as well, and I think that's wonderful. The community, it helps the community grow, and that's what we're all about.
And it's more to get. I would like to get other Danes involved in the New Orleans Saints, so maybe I can have more people to talk Saints about. So
absolutely, and as Dan said, it's absolutely fantastic. It's not only your personal dedication, but it's your dedication to the team. Because yet again, you want the fan base to grow, not only from a personal point of view, but we're all the same. We want the Saints to be as well supported in internationally as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And the efforts that you're making, Ulrik, are absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
I mean, how amazing!
It takes some time.
It does say, and we're seeing that ourselves, like this podcast, and we've got a Discord page that we have, which is more. We don't really talk actively about football. It's more around the city and giving people ideas and places to go and advice and things so that we can. Well, we remember our first time we went to New Orleans and trying to work out what we wanted to do and to not miss out on the good things. So trying to give people a head start so they know from our experience. And, you're always welcome. Obviously, it's written all in English and stuff, but you're always welcome if you want to join that and contribute. But it's like, how great would it be? Obviously, you're on Denmark's part of mainland Europe. You've got the guys in France, guys in Spain. We can drive to France. How great would it be one day that the Saints come to France and do something as part of their marketing, and we can all travel in and meet up, and it will be us as a UK representative of a fan group, you for Denmark, the guys we had on from Spain, and Sergi from Spain, and we're good friends with Ilio and John and their guys at French Quarter Podcast. Have fun with that way. To have these guys, people from 5-6 different countries all coming together for a mutual love of a team that's 4,000 miles away.
Nice reference.
That'd be amazing.
I would really love if the Saints soon play a game in Europe that we can like do something for that game, like turning out that many like the Vikings did in Tottenham, but do something all fan groups all
absolutely, and that again, Dan sort of touched on it. It's part of what myself and Dan are trying to do, which is to get in contact with international fans and then sort of try and pull them all together. So if there is an event like that, then we can get in touch with yourself, Ulrik, or Sergio and John, and we've got other people from international sort of European countries and further afield who are going to come on the pod, and literally that's all we just want to link everyone together, so that we can move this thing forward. Just that we sort of always touch on when you've been in the city. So there are a couple of things that we've always asked people when they've been to the city. So when you go there, have you got and I'm making an assumption now, Ulrik, that you don't mind having a drink once in a while. Do you have a favorite drink when you go to the city? Is there something that you think, right, when I'm there, I'm always going to have one of them?
Actually, no, because I got a little into cocktails. So I did a study, and New Orleans is one of the places you have to have a good cocktail. So I'm trying. I don't have one just now. It's just a beer, but I gotta find something. Any recommendations, perhaps?
I mean, I try and replicate some of the ones we've had. I tried to a long time ago to create. Michael laugh at this. I tried to replicate a hand grenade at home. I found the recipe online. But it tasted awful. I don't know. I went too heavy with something. Can
I point something out to you, Dan? The actual hand grenade that you get in New Orleans tastes fucking awful as well. It's not nice. And again, and Dan will attest to that because you nearly missed the game, the Bears game, when we were over there, because you had a couple too many. But anyway,
PTSD from that. Leave it where it is. So go on.
I have one thing. I have to have a hurricane, but it's Maine, so
it's like it's a rites of passage, isn't it? Yeah.
In the courtyard of Pat O'Brien, I think. We've got a friend over there, haven't we, who went over last week, Bruce, and he was over there with his son, and it's one of the first port calls I think that any international fan should make, because it feels like it's part of the sort of journey you're on. You have a hurricane in Pat O'Brien's, which are, it's mass produced. And then you have one more.
Therein lies the problem.
The easy ones are things like if you like a whiskey or a bourbon, like a Vucare, obviously, and things like that. They're fairly easy to replicate at home. I find it hard to make a hurricane at home just because it's difficult to get like passion fruit juice and stuff like that, which is, you don't realize
it's not common.
It's not easy to get.
What about food, Ulrik? Are you a fan of the food in New Orleans, or is there a certain food that you think, whether it be beignets, all the stuff that people know?
I think jambalaya is something.
All right, good man.
Enjoy. So and po' boys and all the stuff.
You can't go wrong, can you? You can't go wrong.
Yeah, no. You just go out and you just pick something and it's good. So
absolutely.
So not any favorites, but there's a lot of good places. We went to Willie Mays, the fried chicken.
It's only
that
just
was quite
reopened,
good.
I think. It's been closed for a little while. It's reopened recently.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you do any like it? We use the word excursions, but were there any sort of things you did, like trips or tours when you were there that you enjoyed?
I always enjoy the swamps, but
yeah,
that's just me. But
no, it's
but
not Ulrik. It's not. It's me as well. If I, when we were over earlier this year, I didn't get the opportunity to do it because we had a full itinerary and it was quite busy. But even if I don't get to see gators or anything, I just love going into the swamps and just seeing that scenery and all the wildlife that is there. I do it every time.
The Spanish moss hanging from the trees and going in those areas. I just love it.
It's an iconic look, isn't it? Absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely. I know, Dan, you're. Oh, go on,
go on.
No, I was saying, I know you're planning on sort of going over later this year, aren't you? In a different way with the family.
Next year.
Next year.
Over Christmas, hoping it'll be Saints game. But one thing I was going to say on the Spanish moss piece. So when last time I went to Florida, like the kids saw the Spanish moss, and it was like it was there at October time, so it was quite like Halloween, a little bit spooky. Yeah. And it was like, look at this, and I was like, you look at that now. I said, wait till I take you to New Orleans and you see that in the swamps and on the bayou. I said, then you'll know what spooky is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking at doing that this year. I'm really excited about that, actually. Maybe go Sugar Bowl as well. That'll be on when we're
there. Oh my God, the Sugar Bowl back to 2002. We actually got tickets to the Sugar Bowl between Georgia and I think it was Florida State or something. But like I said, I was sick. No, thank you. So,
oh man,
and it was college. I watched the NFL. I didn't quite understand what I turned down.
No.
It's funny you said about being sick because we call it the Bourbon Street flu because everyone you get on Bourbon Street and you just get ill.
I think I had. So when you went with your parents, what age were you, Ulrik?
I was 21, 22, something like that.
On sweet spot, nice time to go.
Definitely the Bourbon Street flu, Dan. It doesn't matter what Ulrik says to us; he's lying. It was
okay.
We know that,
but we were over at the Christmas time and stayed for the New Year's, and I have a picture of Bourbon Street at New Year's, and there was just people all over, crowded. It was like, you just and that was before I think mobile phones. So if you got lost, you got lost.
Yeah, see you at the hotel. In the morning.
Yeah. Oh, you've got that all to look forward to, Mr. Harper, haven't you?
Yeah, hopefully. But I'll have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old with me, so maybe we'll just walk past the end of Bourbon and I won't let them see.
Probably wise.
Maybe I'll just like try and hook up with Max and Corey or Elise or Jess or something like that. Ulrik, and so obviously you said about you travelled from New Orleans to Orlando and up to New York. So we don't really talk a lot to people about that area. How did you find out the area around New Orleans when you went out? Because there's some wonderful places to see on that drive, assuming you went along the coast through Biloxi and places like that. How did you find that?
Yeah, we got out in a hurry. I can't remember what the hurricane it was, but there was a hurricane coming in at that time. So when we drove out from the city, we had planned a stop at a midway point between Orlando and New Orleans, but we decided just to go fast, just because the hurricane. But we could just get past it, and then we were safe in Orlando. So we didn't.
That makes absolute sense.
We didn't do any stops. Although I tried. but
that's sensible. Me and Mike are idiots. We'd probably stop and just go, "Oh, it will be fine," and we wouldn't. But yeah, it's a nice. Depending on what drive you do, because obviously you can do the interstate, but if you go along the coast, it's quite nice down there, going through Biloxi and up through Mobile and down to Pensacola and that way.
Yeah, I think that at that point it was just getting from A to B.
Absolutely. Yeah. Safety was imperative.
I mean, you're driving across like literally a quarter of America, really, aren't you? If you look at it from sea to shiny sea, that's like pretty much a quarter of the country you're driving across. That's a big old drive.
Yeah,
big old drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Just from the point of view of talking about the Saints, obviously we ask this question all the time, and we always put this
caveat.
You're not allowed to pick Drew Brees, because otherwise this would be the most boring section of any pod on earth. Apart from Drew Brees, who is your favorite Saints player?
Ever or in the modern age?
No, ever, because the next question. All right, Ulrik. No, because I was going to say, Ulrik, the next question is who's your current player? But if that sort of favorite player is a current player, then crack away. Yeah, let us know.
Oh, I like Colston, Marcus Colston.
Yep.
He was like my type, I think. Just quiet and doing great things and never getting voted to a Pro Bowl.
No.
And just doing great things.
Just doing his job. Doing his job, but doing it exceptionally well.
Yeah. That's and Deuce as well. That's Deuce.
Yeah.
As well. So those two.
And you were lucky enough to see. Obviously, you was lucky enough to see Deuce in that first game you went to in 2002.
Yeah.
So that's great.
That's amazing.
Crazy, isn't it?
Back on it. So I also wanted that time to buy my first Saints jersey, and it took like an hour and a half standing looking at all those jerseys. You didn't see that in Europe. That amount of Saints merchandise, and just seeing people in jerseys and Saints gear, it was like, whoa. So
to that point, and this is going to sound really weird, and you're both going to laugh at me, but I said this to Mike. I think I said it was in New Orleans. When I first get to New Orleans, whenever I go, the first time I see someone in Saints stuff, I almost want to shout out, "Who dat?" Like I'm in London, seeing someone in Saints stuff, like. Because in London, I might see someone once a month in something, once every 2 months in a Saints hat or a hoodie or something. And I forget that I'm in New Orleans and everyone's a Saints fan. And I'm just like, who that? And they look at you as if like, of course, who that? I live here. This is my team.
Yeah. But I think if you say that, I think people just respond.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. The enthusiasm is all there, and I think also, again, it's that thing when you're in London or when you're in Copenhagen or Paris or wherever. Quite often you get that thing, because we've had it. We've got a couple of friends who now will not do the who dat shout because they've been burnt severely, and they don't because you do that who dat thing and they don't even know it, because they've not in a hurry way. They picked up a shirt from their mate or off a charity thing. They don't have any idea. Or they're a Saints fan, but not really a Saints fan and don't understand it.
I told you about when I was coming home from work on the tube.
Yeah.
I got to the door shut, and there was a guy with a Saints hoodie on and a Saints hat. And I banged up. I'd had a couple of sherbets, had a couple of drinks.
Really, Dan? Really?
And it was in the summer, so I was wearing a short sleeve shirt, and I was going like that to him, and he was looking at me all confused. And the only thing I could think of is I pointed at my fleur de lis tattoo on my arm and just pointed at him, and then he got it. But things we do, eh?
He's going straight
it's always
to
nice.
That security phone on the platform, wasn't he? Thinking, what the hell's going on here?
Probably.
It's always nice to see someone in the same colors as perhaps you're also wearing. I always wanted to run after people and, hey, who that? And, do you know something? Whatever.
Yeah. We're in a special club. That's what we are. We're in a club right now.
Yeah.
So just go. Obviously,
Mhm.
who's your current favorite player, Ulrik?
Oh, Camara, I think. Camara.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think
he's real right now. He's real, and every I think every time I hear him talk, it's like, okay, that's what's going on. So I think Camara right now, and Cameron Jordan. I forgot him. Sorry, sorry, but him as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I think Kamara would be up there for a lot of people, and it's that sort of thing. It's almost that. I don't want to get too over the top. But it's almost heartbreaking when you think about the trajectory he was on maybe 3 years ago, and then obviously with the struggles that we've had offensively, the fact that that has curtailed probably any chance that he may have had of being a Hall of Famer. Because, but even when you look at the stats now, the stats between him and McCaffrey are literally it's inches between the pair of them. Oh, Dan's going to throw one at me. Go on,
you
mate.
Obviously haven't listened to last week's 28 to 3 podcast, or this.
I don't know. I haven't.
So they put a case forward as to why he's a Hall of Famer, and it was only a preview podcast, but it was a very compelling case that Max Corey and Nick put forward. And they basically looked at his numbers in the modern era, and it's actually him, McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry. And I said, whilst historically as a running back, he probably wouldn't have got in. If you look at him now and look at everyone else from his draft class and who's been drafted in that period, he's like top 3. So I definitely recommend listening to that episode.
No, I will.
They go off on a tangent, but
no, Dan. I listen to everyone. I've just not got round to it for various reasons. So I definitely will, especially now that you've pointed that out. Because as I did with the CMC stuff, that they're on a trajectory together. So it feels like the stuff that surrounds the Saints at the moment, and not in a horrid way. If he had stayed at the Panthers, this conversation wouldn't be happening for him either. No. It's because he's gone to a shiny, bright button of the NFL that's where he would get in. And because the Saints are no longer a shiny, bright button in the NFL. Because obviously we had all those years of relative success. If we had carried that on for another 3-4 years, the conversation would be there that he should be at least thought of, or in some sort of discussion about it. But no, I'll definitely listen to it, mate. I always do.
Mike, who's your current favorite player?
I'm not answering. We're not allowed to answer this stuff on the pod, Dan, unless we have a SaintsCityMe one-off special between me and you, because we never answer these questions. We didn't even do our projections for the year, which I'm really pleased about.
I'm going to pin you down. I'm going to find out who your favorite player is. We'll do an episode.
You could do
that. The season, we'll do a review.
Yeah, we'll do a reflection. We'll do an after dark reflection, Paul. All right.
I did a prediction before the season started, having the Saints, of course, winning the division. And made some bet with friends and stuff, but I had the Panthers number 2. I'm sorry, but I thought like the Houston Texans got CJ Stroud. I thought Bryce Young would be that player. So they probably
I did the same on I went on a podcast with a Panthers fan, and we went and we basically between us we worked out what we thought it was, and we had Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Bucks. It's be quite ironic if it's pretty much the other way around.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we're on a positive. We're going to win this week, so we don't need to talk about that.
We are going to win.
Right. Just a very quick one from me, Ulrik, which is obviously everyone hates the Falcons. But I need to know what other NFL team you hate
or dislike.
No, all right. Or don't particularly like. Hate's a really strong.
I don't hate anyone, but no. I don't like the Panthers because of my personal experience, and I don't like the Rams. I think the Rams and the Panthers, and of course the Falcons. That's my top 3.
That's fair enough.
But there's a lot of the Vikings as well could could be in that category.
And yet again, that's understandable. That really is. We've had a couple of upsets with them in the recent years, haven't we? Which
and
definitely
the horrible Minnesota miracle happening. I can remember that game. You just have given up, I think, in the half, and then you got built up, and then you gotta win, and then it happened.
I'm not sure on that really depressing note we want to end the pod on. Dan, do you want to think of something really really upbeat that we should end on, mate?
What have we got that's upbeat? We're gonna win. We're gonna win at the weekend.
We're gonna win.
Beat the Giants. We're gonna hold on in there. We're gonna try and get that playoff spot. Everyone likes playoff football, even if you get the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles. Although the Eagles, maybe got found out a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're going to play the Rebirth Brass Band, playing Casanova in the Superdome, and everyone's going to be happy.
I've got a positive thing, which isn't really something. So we as our regular listeners know, we follow a catering company called Decatur, who are based out of London. Guy called
wonderful
Tom runs that amazing Southern food. So today on Instagram, he's put together a New Orleans themed Christmas playlist.
Okay.
And I thought I'll plug it here. So it's called A Very Decatur Christmas. Thomas Zaire Brown. I'd go on Spotify, give it a download. It's Kermit Ruffins, it's Dirty Dozen Brass Band, Louis Armstrong, and it's all Christmas songs. So if you want something a bit different, Christmas, if you celebrate, I'd go on there, give that a download. I was listening to it this afternoon when I was cooking after I finished work. Perfect Christmas morning playlist. There you go. Something a bit positive, St. Martin's based, and a recommendation. If you're in London and Decatur are cooking, you've got to go.
Yeah. Also, very quickly, if you're in London on Saturday night and you want to meet some fellow Saints fans, either DM myself or Dan, or DM the SaintsCityMe account on Twitter or Instagram, and we'll let you know where we're heading to. We'll have a good night. Ulrik,
if we're plugging, I've never done this before. If you enjoy our podcast, please like, subscribe, and listen. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and add us on Twitter and Instagram. Because we never do that, Mike, and everyone else does that on the podcast.
Yeah. Ulrik, there you go. So there's a first for you. You've been part of a first.
Yeah.
Ulrik, I would just like to say thank you so much for giving us your time. We very much appreciate it. And it's wonderful for me and Dan to make these connections with Saints fans sort of across the globe, and obviously in Europe, because there's great opportunity for us to actually at some point get together and meet in person. I would say to you, Ulrik, if next year, and this is only coming from me, Dan might be on board, I don't know, but if next year, if you are able to cobble something together with some Saints fans in Denmark, I would love to come over and watch a game with you guys. I've never been. It's always been one of the places that I would love to go. So bear us in mind if you're getting the opportunity to put something together.
Absolutely. I would be all over that. I'd love to come and spend time with you guys, watch a game, give you some, just build that community out. European Saint. We're not just Danish, British, French. It's a European community that we're growing. So to that point as well, anyone who's listening, you can catch Ulrik at NOSDK on Twitter, and all the links to the website are on there. Same handle on Instagram. So please give Ulrik a follow and support what he's doing for the Danish Saints community, because it would mean the world to us and to him. Let's get that support. Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
And let's hope for the European Saints game soon, so we can
absolutely
get together and
all together. Us, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, everyone.
Hungary, everybody.
Hungary,
What about that? There's a guy in Poland as well called Dominic who we need to get on the podcast. So we're all over Europe. So let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
It'll be even bigger than what we did in London with the Dome Patrol guys.
Europe.
So let's do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Ulrik. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Who that?
Thank you.